Yes, we are back, guys. Thank you. Oh man, we missed you guys. Thank you for showing up. And listen, we about to show up and show out. Welcome from the battle to the glory. Yes, we are here. We was on a break and we are back, guys. And I appreciate we have a special guest today. Before we get into our topic, but I want to introduce our guest. And look, listen, this is how God works. Listen, I'm gonna give y'all a little story, a little backspin. I don't even think Aaron know this, so I got to tell him it right, like publicly and openly, so what the
I'm a
viewers.
little nervous now, brother. I
No,
don't
no, no,
know.
no. It's nothing but God. Hey, Aaron, it's nothing but God. I'm gonna show you how God works, and this is what we do here. It's an open space. It's all about positive. It's all about love. It's all encouraging and inspiring people to change their mind and their perception of the things of the religion, but not only but the religion, the relationship with Christ. And that's
Amen.
the most important thing that we want to spew on people, but not just pushing on you, but we want to encourage you. And so let me give you a little introduction of how I met Aaron. Okay, so we met in King Movement. We were down there, and it was a men's fellowship. It was big, and so I had came across the King Movement. I want to say a year ago, and I was like, God, this is what I want because I want to be around other men, other believers, but being encouraged by fathers, men that's been broken, men that had came out of the darkness and into the marvelous light. And so it wasn't the time at that particular time. And I was like, God, if that's for me, if that's what you want me to be,
Mhm.
open the doors and allow me to meet the people that I need to meet. So it didn't happen that first year. The next year, right on my Instagram came up the function, the function we went down in DC.
DC.
So I was like, all right, boom. I got my ticket and everything, and then I got down there, and sure enough, I start meeting people right from the start. The Harrison family, he's a podcast host over here in Plainfield. I met him down here, and then there are some other the vice president of the charter in New Jersey. Me and him played basketball for years.
Oh, you and Mac.
Yeah, for years. And he was like, "Oh, I'm the VP." I was like, "No way." He's like, got his number locked in. And then I got with Aaron and I seen how he moved. And I said, God, I don't want nothing negative. I want all positive in my life. And so I watched. Aaron didn't even notice. I was watching as they introduced me to him. I was watching how he moved, how he carried himself. And sure, I see him walk up there with the men that crossed over into the King Movement. Man, listen, this is the type of environment I wanted to be in. And sure enough, God, in the right time, in the right season, in the right place, and the right people, God
Mm.
allowed me to meet these people, this young man. And now we're going to grow our relationship. Here he is on the podcast. And it's something that when you desire to the things of God, God
Right.
will give you the things of your heart, but not only your heart, the things that you desire and really want that's going to be beneficial for you.
Amen.
And truly, I am blessed to have him as a brother, but as a leader of encouragement, a father. I see how he moves with his wife, his daughters, and that's what you want to do. That you want to be inspired. We both are fathers, but not only fathers, we are kings. We are leaders of our
Amen.
household, and God has given us this opportunity to do that for other men, but not only other men, but show people how marriage can work and it will work. But not only will it work, it all depends on the individual and how you decide to choose the spouse that you want to. And I say all that to introduce our guest, Aaron Carr. And Aaron Carr, and if you want to add anything, you can. I mean, because I know you're a man of truly God. Listen, I watch you, bro. I'm trying to tell you, man.
No, I'm just happy to be here, man, with my brother, Dennis and Lady T. Happy to have an opportunity to be on with you. Ready to chop it up, man. Let's. I got my red balloons ready.
Oh,
Pop these red balloons.
I
We
love
go.
it.
We gonna figure this out.
Let's
We gonna
go.
we gonna we gonna figure this out.
So as a lot of our viewers know, listen, why do you think God put the act of divorce in the Bible? Like, why do you think He put that in it? Like, let's go, Lady T. You the lady. We got to go with you first.
Ladies first. Is that what?
Yes, yes.
That...
I gotta get my Lady T. I gotta get it in. Why do you think God put that in there? Like, what's your perception of your overview of that? What do you think about that?
Well, I always think that, man always thinks he knows best for himself. And so he makes decisions that are not really aligned on what he should be doing for his life. And, mistakes. I always say mistakes are made. So people that make a mistake in getting married to somebody and figure out along the way, I should not be married to this person because of whatever reasons. There's many reasons that they, chose to say, okay, you have a certificate of divorce. It was done in the Old Testament, the New Testament. There's reasons why you can get divorced because people make mistakes and people do not know what they're doing most of the time. And, having somebody equally yoked, it means that the Spirit of God brought them into your life. And that doesn't happen a lot for a lot of relationships. And we need to acknowledge that. We do it on our own most of the time. We choose, we decide when we say, we're going to do this, we're going to be committed to this person, and I'm going to live my life with you for the rest of my life. Come and find out there's something along the way you just can't handle. And then you just be like, okay, I can't do it. That's just, us as human beings. That's what we do.
Aaron, what about you? Why do you think God put divorce in the Bible?
Well, I'm going to say something that's probably little unorthodox. God put divorce in the Bible, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but for justice. I say that because in the Old Testament, as my sister just mentioned, the hardness of hearts, as Jesus said, Moses allowed a certificate of divorce or a get, right? A certificate of divorce because of the hardness of man's heart. So at the time, in this particular time in scripture, men were divorcing their wives over the most craziest things. It wasn't through death. It wasn't because of adultery or sexual morality. They literally were putting their wives away and divorcing them over the most smallest, treacherous, heinous things. And as a result, the women suffered. At this time, the income and the resources came from the man. And so when women were divorced, they either went into prostitution. This is historically documented. They were broke, they suffered, they struggled. And so what God did was when he put this plan of the certificate of divorce to Moses, it was to protect the woman's well-being. It empowered the woman. It was a guideline for men not to destroy, humiliate, and pretty much cause the woman to die. And so it was justice in regards of the hardness of man's heart, because if a woman was divorced, they lost everything. That's how it was. The man literally he was the breadwinner. He did everything. Women weren't even allowed to read. Women weren't even allowed to do all these different things. And so as a result of God instituting that letter, that GET, that letter of divorce, that certificate of divorce, this allowed protection for the woman, right? At this time, men were only making the decision of divorce. So he even equated that aspect, balanced the scales on that aspect. And it was justice really against men who did women dirty, really, when you really look at it. And so from that perspective, if you look at why God put divorce in the Bible, it still wraps around the love of God. It really does. And this may sound crazy. People might listen to this and say, you out of your mind. That's crazy. But if we really look at the contextual understanding of the scriptures, not our traditional church views, you would see that was the reason why God put the divorce and the laws established for divorce, so women can be protected from being treated unfairly and ungodly.
Okay. Lady T, you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I do remember learning about the reasons why they did divorce. Something like if the woman couldn't cook.
Yeah.
If she wasn't given sex, that's like stuff like that. And I remember, was that in the Bible? That's the thing. I was like, is that something that was in the Bible? I can't remember, but that was something that you brought up that I was like, I can't remember. Was that something outside the Bible or was that in the Bible?
So that's more of an outsourced belief. So around the time when Jesus came along and he was healing people, and the Pharisees asked him about Moses and the law and divorce, there was two schools of thought, right? Ben Hillel and Ben Shammai, right? These two big dog rabbis at the time. Ben Hillel had a more lenient approach, so it wasn't just divorce from for adultery or sexual morality. He was more lenient. If a man hated his woman in his eyes, or if it was something unpleasing to him, or anything, as you mentioned, if the chicken wasn't seasoned, if the big toe was brown, or if the pinky toe looked crazy, right? That gave people the license, or man license, to divorce his wife. Then on the other side, the other school of thought, Ben Shammai, he was more stringent. It was strictly for sexual morality, adultery, but not all the other leniency aspects. And so when Jesus was questioned by the Pharisees at that time, they were pretty much asking to choose, which side do you stand on? Right? Are you Democrat? Are you Republican? Are you, Shammai, or are you Halal? And so that was the outsource, the kind of the culture of the time that was going on, and they were pretty much asking Jesus to choose. And so what Jesus did was he went back to Genesis and said, this is how it's supposed to be. And so when men are unlawfully divorcing their wives over really an added oral tradition to the law, the oral tradition really was to keep a protection around the Torah. But what it did was it gave man's philosophy, them knowing the loopholes, them the unnecessary burdens, right, on the law, and put it on people that they weren't even following themselves. And so that philosophy of Ben Hillel or Ben Shammai, those two, and to this day, if you ask someone Jewish right now, to this day, that issue is not resolved. People waver on either side of that, even to this day.
But it's not something that was in the Bible. Those were that's information that came from like you said, outside. You really needed to dig deep into the philosophy of the tradition, the culture, right, and what Jesus was talking about, because Jesus spoke to many people, right, and the priests, he talked to many, at all of them, he was having conversations. So I understand. So yeah, when you were bringing that up, I thought about it and I was like, I just don't remember that being in the Bible, but I do remember hearing it and knowing about it. So thank you for bringing that point up.
Also, remember, in the Bible, there's only one decree of that God will allow you to get a divorce, and that's the purpose of why he put it in there, is because of the adultery. That's it. There's no other way you can, and it's specifically in the Bible because of that. There's only one way out of those. Correction. Two, if the spouse passes, that's one, and then also adultery. That's two.
Or sexual immorality. Can we say it that way?
I mean, adultery is about the same. It's the same thing.
Well, there's some nuances with that, and what the nuances are when you say sexual immorality. That's not just cheating on your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who you talk to, sexual immorality can be abstaining sex from your spouse,
mm-hmm,
right? Abuse,
mm-hmm,
sexual abuse. And so it's a lot of it's very nuanced. It's not just you married, you cheated, and boom. It's the abstaining of it, right? Withholding it, it being abusive. You wanted to do things that your spouse does not agree to sexually, and things of that nature. So it's very nuanced.
I mean, just think about that though. It clearly states also too, is that the man is supposed to love the wife like you love Christ. And so there are things that's uncommon for a human to do to a woman. I'm speaking as a man, mm-hmm, to do to a woman to make her feel less of a person. You know what I'm saying? Love is a multitude of things. And right, so, and that's why it's clear that when you said that, is that it's certain things that you have to do to treat a woman with the utmost respect. And that's why, this new age, there are things you can do that can cause harm to that individual, that woman. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Mentally, physically. You and some people are like, that's not in the Bible. Guess what? But we live in a different time now, a different age. And guess what? It's adding to the law. It's adding to humanity, because there are things that back in those times they didn't do. Now we're doing, and guess what? It causes a lot of a trauma, and those traumas can allow a person to go into this dark place, and that's not what God intended. That's not what God want in a marriage. So that's why sometimes, like you said, a nuance, it's adding something different to our lifestyle. So now you have to add it into that, because guess what? We live differently. It's a
Right.
different cohabitate. So our lives are different now. So you definitely have to put that in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think let's look at the total picture of the relationship dynamic from scripture and it is today. Like I said, back then women couldn't work, couldn't read, couldn't do anything. They were literally dependent upon the man. Now sisters are killing us. Like, they're in college, they're independent, they work hard, they got their own. And so the aspect of marriage, which is going to go into a different conversation, because now people are even questioning, what do I need to be married? Right? What's the significance of marriage? And so people are on panel discussions and podcasts and all these different, all Christian, all over the world are promoting, the benefits of marriage. But it's still that tug of war, because in the Old Testament, it was necessary. It was literally necessary. That it was so crazy. And this might even break a lot of traditional thinking. If a person was to get divorced in the Old Testament, it was a given that woman must or will be remarried. And you've never heard that, because typically when you hear about divorce, you can't remarry again. You can't. But in scripture, it's actually in Deuteronomy 24. It talks about how when a man takes a wife and marries her, if she finds no favor in his eyes because he found some indecency in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out of the house, and she departs out of his house. And if she becomes another man's wife, and the latter man hates her and writes her certificate of divorce and puts her in the hand and sends her out of his house, if the latter man dies who took her to be his wife, then the former husband who sent her away may not take her again to be his wife. If remarriage was forbidden, that portion of there that says if she marries someone else, it wouldn't be in there. It would not be in there.
That's correct.
And so God loves marriage that much that keeping someone at this time in singleness was even a bad thing. But we don't talk about that, because during our traditional hearing, you hear preachers and pastors all over the world telling people not to be remarried. And so they sit in singleness, struggling with their flesh and sexual immorality, and they shack up, but they never get married again, because a misreading of scripture out of context, as Lady T was talking about the different aspects outside of the scripture that what Jesus is talking about, that messed up the understanding. There was an ignorance of the understanding that you could move on and you can remarry. But nowadays it's a different dynamic. And as you mentioned, Dennis, that we have to kind of transition that thinking. The scripture is a template, right? It has an overarching message. How we respect, how we cherish, how we honor, how we respect, how we love, how we dignify, how we protect. That it's an overarching message. It may not be the exact wording of scripture, but the emphasis, the overarching message is there. Is there.
Definitely. I was gonna say, just also, we talk about marriage, right? A lot of people don't feel like, marriage is something that's required. They might look, we can live together and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of other things that come with it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the way the world is going right now, marriages is suffering. Right. It's because of the perception of what the world is saying, what you can do versus what you can't do. Versus if you're being married and you living with somebody and you're not married, how does it waver? Is it the same? Is it different? What's the difference? You know what I'm saying? I could live with this person and we financially we good together. So we making it, you know what I'm saying? We making it work. And that's just that. You want to say, Lacey? I see your hand go up.
Yeah, I was going to say man's law. Man's law has increased when it comes to marriages, and especially when it comes to having, assets together, children together.
Right.
That is the reason why people do not want to get married, because of the laws. We're talking about the Jewish laws back in the day. It's the same thing. We're doing the same thing in a different way when it comes to the laws that we're creating that are protecting women mostly and taking away the man's rights. We're doing the same thing over again, but in a different look. So, people are cautious when it comes to getting married because they also have to protect what they brought into the world, their parts of, their assets, their contribution, their self, their worth. There's so much to take in consideration when you say I do to somebody.
I was listening to you, Lady T, and it's funny that you say that, because you know why I say that? It's because what you just said is so profound. But when I say profound, it's like people are quick to say, I'm not going to give myself up 100% in marriage, but you will give up your body for a moment. And what else do you have? You'll give your body up for a moment, for pleasure, for enjoyment, and that's it. Like, at the end of the day, what's the ultimate goal? Some people don't understand that. Like, for a man, guess what? It's our desire to love, to be with a woman, period. But now when we look beyond that and says, you know what? I want this woman because I know she's going to be loyal to me. She's going to be devoted to me, and we're going to love on each other. That's something totally different. You can't get that from, some people say you can, but I don't feel like you can get that 100% from a person you just dating for a long period of time, and that's it. It's got to be something different. It has to be, because at the end of the day, what makes us want to get married as men, right? And then women, why would you want to give up just for pleasure? Give yourself up, knowing that that's the ultimate goal for the man that's supposed to be your future husband. Like that not bothers me, but mind boggle. It's mind boggle because I do have daughters, and
Right.
and now my oldest daughter is married, so she's living her life. I can't say anything about that. But my youngest daughter, I always try to talk to her and encourage her, and my youngest daughter, she said she didn't want to get married at first. She's like, oh, I want to get married. Now she have a different outlook. And I always used to say, I'm transparent. I always used to say to my daughter, I said, Marty, and I say this, and she probably be like, Daddy, you be just be exposing me. But it's a learning experience, though. It's not business that I gotta just share it to the world. It's that how I do things and how you do things is different. I'm talking about this to the world. It's like my daughter, she have had 2 spouses that she messed around with, right? And I said, listen, you have to honor your body. You can't just give that up. That's yours. It's precious, and you have to treat it as such. This is not for pleasure. It's not just for, oh, I love him, Daddy, and I want. No, it's not about that. Right. You got to get to, first of all, you have to get to know yourself 100%. Then get to know that person, because guess what? You don't know what is inside the burden that person is carrying, the hurt that they carry. They can hide that, and that burden, that hurt, it overspills on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you got to understand and know that. And I say that to her, and I say that to her with love and with patience. And she's still doing what she want to do, but she respects me, and I respect her. And I share that with you guys because it's difficult to try to tell our kids one thing and knowing that we did something totally different. That's the difficult part. That's the hard part, because they look at that. Our children look at that. They say, well, Dad, Mom, you did that. Well, how you going to tell me? And so now you have to be able to navigate and explain it to them in a way they can understand. And then they still going to do what they want to do. Let me take. Yeah. I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
No, so I had a few things, man. One of the things that I think as men, Right. And I'm speaking specifically to men because we don't do a good job, especially I have 2 daughters. And this has been something that, has been a challenge for me for a while, and I'm learning to kind of ease up on this. I think our view and how we cultivate, how we teach our daughters about relationships and marriage, that's major, right? The mom is going to be there and have the great conversations and talk to about this and talk to about that. But man, I don't think we do a good job, man, with our presence when it comes to our daughters dating. The first thing that comes to mind, man, when I think of my daughter dating back in the day, was like, man, like the Will Smith and Bad Boy, the Martin Lawrence, when a guy comes to the door and acting crazy, right? I don't have like a good, because that's my daughter. Matter of fact, it's for some people, man, I feel like when I found out I was having a daughter, man, people thought I was cursed. Like, oh man, you gotta get your shotguns, you gotta get your stuff. I'm like, dang, man. So even my view of having a daughter in line with what I'm thinking about knuckleheads, the boys, and what they want to do to my daughter and treat my daughter, that's already in my psyche. So I gotta already break that psychological bondage, because we as fathers, we as men, we have a place to demonstrate, and not just demonstrate to our daughters what a healthy relationship is, because we'll do that. We'll expect our daughters to just take notes about if we're married, right? Our communication and what they see with our wives, but we don't even communicate with our daughters the importance of relationship, how to be respected and to respect, right? How to, not be nasty and disrespectful to a boy and not have a boy be nasty and disrespectful to you. We don't have those conversations. And as a result, they wound up either doing things behind our back. They can't talk to us about little crushes of boyfriends that they have, right? They can't communicate if they having these feelings emotionally and sexually that comes as they reach puberty. They can't talk about, we don't even have the conversations about possible sexual experiences, because we want that, we want our daughters to have their chastity and their holiness. I heard one pastor, bro, he literally said, we teach and train and force our daughters to be holy, but we just teach our sons to be careful. And there's a huge dynamic when it comes to that thinking. And so that's one aspect, man, that as men, we definitely got to do a better job of presenting relationships in a better light, specifically with our daughters. And as you mentioned, we did stuff back in the day too. Yeah, we all did. The problem is to not come off as hypocrites, we give our child our testimonies. A lot of times we tell our stories and it's like, shoot, man, back in the day, man, I used to be. I'm like, hold on, bro. Where's the shame, right? Where's the, nah, man, I messed up. Nah, we still kind of marvel. Some of us even want to go back in those times and be that person, versus our story being a cautionary tale on what not to do, how to be better, how to be fruitful, how to engage in a better way. We don't do that. We don't present our past that way. We present our past, with that scratch head stuff. Like, man, listen, when I was in my heyday, I'm like, your heyday. He laughing now. That's how he giggled.
No. I'm laughing because I hear those stories, but me on the other hand, I was transparent with my daughter. Very, very much. I told her, like, this is what it is. But I've been married twice. This is my second marriage. So I was married to her mother. So, being married to her mother, it was totally different. My first daughter, I wasn't married to her mom. With my second daughter, I was married to her mom, so it was a little different. But what I did learn growing up until the fatherhood was that my parents didn't talk to me about that. They just advised me, like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that before you get married." That was it. So I already had in my mind that I'm not going to do that with my kids. I'm going to talk with them about this. Like, yo, listen, I already told my daughters, if you think about having sex, hey, use protection. Because I'd rather you tell me,
Right.
and show and say, Dad, listen, Dad, I'm all right. Let's go get some condoms. Because guess what? I want that honesty. I want that transparency. I want you to let me know what's going on. Because guess what? I want you to be aware. Protect yourself. It's not about just the moment. Protect yourself. And having that conversation with her, that's why I was able to, when she first got on her little cycle, she was comfortable, you know. And then when at first it was a work in progress. Once she, firstly did that, then she was like, "Oh, Dad, yeah." I said, "Okay, well, just protect yourself. You don't want no kids right now." The boom. And I always say I'm not agreeing to that. That's not what I want for you. But be protected. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, Aaron, those conversations that these young generations, we got at this young generation, you got to have conversation with them. You got to let them know, like, I'm not agreeing to that. I don't think you should be doing that. I advise you not to do that, but you grown, you're going to do what you want to do. But this is just my, words of wisdom, words of encouragement. I want the best for you. And that's how we got to do it. And like you said, most parents aren't having those conversations. They're going to work, coming home, watching their TV shows, and they miss that part. You know what I'm saying? They're not interacting with their kids. What's going on in school? Oh, you like Johnny? They're not doing that. They're just like, oh, you can't have no boyfriends. Right. You know what I'm saying? Not telling like, oh, you like such and such? Come on over. Come over to the house. Have them over for dinner. Get to know that person. You know what I'm saying? Lady T?
I was listening to what you all were saying, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. Y'all men, y'all don't know what to say when it comes to your daughters. I mean, I know, Chef, you saying what you did try and do, and that's good. Nothing's wrong with it. It's just a mother, something about the mom is different when it comes to a mother and a daughter relationship. So it's going to be different for a father. Now, I have seen, and firsthand, I'm not going to say names, but I've seen fathers that do too much for their children. Mm-hmm. They go out of their way and they do too much, and it's a spoiling. It's not setting boundaries. It's giving where you have to learn to show them certain disciplines. So there's always there's going to be a side for every man when it comes to their daughters. The type of man or father he's going to be, but it's a balancing act when it comes to your children. I mean, your daughters especially, because women, we're raising the girls to become women, and you do need a woman to help. Like we would say, we need a man to help our sons be a man. So I understand what you all were saying about it's a balancing act, and it's understandable. So.
Of course, definitely. I was going to say the one thing I did do with Imani is we started out when she was younger. We went out on dates. Certain things like that. It's important, man.
That matters.
You know what I'm saying? Doing those things, and what I used to do when she was in school, and this is what you got to do, because you want them to understand that you love them unconditionally. And then they'll grow up with that expectation that I want a man that treat me like my dad. She was in school, elementary. I used to bring her flowers. She didn't know at that moment what that meant. Flowers, balloons, all just have a great day and all that. Pick up from school, those things, like, it meant a lot to me. But I wanted to show her that it's not just our daddy love you. That's it. I'll pick you up from school. Daddy love you. That's it. No, I'm doing something outside of that, and I always did that, and I always cherished those moments. And I look at her now. She's become a great young lady, smart, energetic, started her own little business right now. And I'm proud of her. I got to say that. I'm proud of her.
And you see what you just did there, man. You mentioned how the family dynamic affects how our children view marriage, right? You just said just now, I'll give my daughter flowers, I'll take her on a date. She knows that she knows what love feels like without an ulterior motive. You're the first person that said, I love you, here's some flowers, here's some balloons, let's go on a date, and you had no negative ulterior motive, right? That's the first line of respect right there. You know, the first set of flowers should not come from a boyfriend. Just shouldn't. Her first date with someone of the opposite sex should not come from a guy that she just met at school who plays basketball, who has nice curly hair. You know what I'm saying? The first balloon she gets should not come from, you know, homeboy with the ski mask on in the hallway at the school. You know what I'm saying? That interaction should first come from her father, so she knows what it feels like. So it's not a shocker when, you know, when she gets that fake rose on Valentine's Day in middle school. No, my dad gave me some real ones. I appreciate this. Trust me, I do. You know, but I know what it feels like. Right? I'm not caught off guard. Like, oh my goodness, you got this from me. Oh my God. No, my father got me that. You know, my father prepped me on what respect looks like, what interest looks like, what love, not lust, what love, dignity looks like. That comes from the fathers, man. The women, they build, they nurture, they understand, they empathize, they go, you know, with the pains of the physical elements, the emotional elements, the mental elements, the feelings of it. They know all of that stuff. But the fathers, we're those levees. We're that infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? And that plays out into the marriage aspect. You know, you put that work in, you planted those seeds. Now you know your daughter's gonna be a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother, you know, a wonderful person, because you put that work in. You know, you put that work in.
Lady T, you got this.
She's proud of us. She's proud of us. Look,
you got this. Look, what's up, T? Lady T, what's up?
No, he was right. Everything he said, I agree completely. Totally.
Oh, and we look. The topic is, why did God put divorce in the Bible? But here's where we're talking like this is because it's the surrounding part of divorce. We're not. I don't encourage divorce. What I encourage is that you really look inside yourself, to get to know yourself before you decide to be with someone. Get to know that person before you decide to do that, so you won't have to go through that. We talk about why God put it in the Bible, but it like we talked earlier, the ones who probably missed it, is that it's the order and it's the structure that God wants for us as humans, is that he really wants you to do your due diligence in finding the person for you, because God has created a person just for you. Yes, we're going to make bad decisions, but that's that's why Jesus Christ died on the cross for us, is so that we can make those mistakes and not do it willingly and just do it unconsciously and say, God, forgive me. You know, I made a wrong choice, but I really want to do your will. I really want to be with a person that is meant for me. And I say to you, I promise you this. And you know, some people say, I promise you this. You do what you're supposed to do for Christ, I guarantee you he'll give your heart's desire. Because sometimes we want the things that we want, the flesh, the visual cortex, we want that. But it's not about that. It's about your heart. And that's the key. The key is your heart. When you work on your heart, everything else will fall in place, because you know how to love yourself, and then you'll be able to love somebody else outside of that. And I think the brokenness of some people can't begin to love somebody 100% because they're still broken. They have to heal first, and then out of the healing, then they'll be able to see clearly. What do you think about how I said that, Lady T? No, listen, we do this all the time. No, I gotta make sure Lady T agree with me, because she don't agree.
If she shake her head this way, then you're right.
You're good. You're good. I just feel like with this topic, I feel like it's all about, you're in a marriage, you are in a relationship, so you are, you know, trying to figure out why you want to get divorced. You know, people are in marriages and they don't really know if they can last long, so how do you work out something that is tough for your life, or you don't know if you can make it through and be with that person for the rest of your life? I think, I feel like with us living this world today, we're not talking about biblical times when the Bible was written and everything. We're talking about today. We need one another and we need to communicate. And we do not communicate well most of the time. Men especially, I'm going to say that, because it's necessary to express yourself, to get your feelings out and say whatever needs to be said. Let that raw truth come out, even when it's ugly and it's dirty and it's grimy. You have to let it out, because guess what? That's a part of life. There's good, bad, and ugly, and it's all going to be a part of what God said. This is a dualistic world. You're going to have it all. So you got to express yourself. So I think, the point where I'm trying to make is it's good to have somebody to talk to. Therapy is a great thing. I hope that people are getting more into therapy and having somebody to have a conversation with that can help them along the path. But divorce is when you're married and you're like, I don't know if I can make it. What do you do then? You can go to a Christian church, you can go to your pastor, but every day are they going to wake up and tell you what to do and make you move into the direction that you're supposed to move into? No, it is going to be you. So what will you do? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Like, are you going to decide that you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life, and are you going to be miserable, or are you going to be happy? Decide which one you're going to do, because it all sounds good. This all sounds good. But we got those people out there that are in marriages and they're thinking about divorce because they're like, did I make a mistake? Am I with the right person? Like that's a lot of that out here.
And I think part of the reason why that is and we just gonna be, we could be real, right? We could be real here, right?
Oh, that's what we do. Transparency, man.
The church doesn't do a good job of really dealing with some of those issues, those marital issues that come, right? So we go to the Bible for a lot of things, but there are a lot of things that's not written in the Bible in regards of healthy marriages and relationships. We talk about grace, talk about forgiveness, talk about long suffering, we talk about 1 Corinthians 13, love is kind, love is patient, yada yada, right? And what happens is when there is no information on the realness of what I'm going through, but I'm seeking information, of course I'm gonna go to Netflix and find the information. Of course I'm gonna listen to the radio and get the information. Of course I'm gonna listen to the podcast of unbelievers who's really talking about, for example, sexual wants or financial instability and worry about finances and communication and all those different things. Of course I'm gonna go and deal and talk to those things because they're laid out for me. They're laid out for me. And one of the things I think we have to do a better job, and those who are married, who are in the church, who are believers, is we have to change our visual of what marriage is. And that's one thing I noticed. Marriage is not lollipops, lilies, and sunny days all the time. Marriage is a home. And what I mean is HOME, it is a home. But, there are flowers outside. Right, there's nice grass and stuff, but that took work to do. There's some construction that's involved with this process. There's going to be some floods that's going to happen in the basement. Holes are going to be put in the walls. Grass is going to need to be cut. Things are going to happen. Your roof may leak. Pipes may burst. Stove may shut down. No one talks about the reality of marriage and what it actually looks like, and that's a problem. I've literally seen on Instagram, on social media, if a pastor is kissing on his wife on Instagram, we like, nah, man, don't do that. That's nasty. And I'm like, that's romance. That's intimacy, right? A little bit too much. I don't need to see that. Or if someone's going through it, if I don't talk to nobody, I keep it behind closed doors, which is good. That's fine. It has its place. But we put a bad visual and representation of what marriage actually is. Marriage is love. Love is peace, but there is no peace without some wars. There's going to be battles. There's going to be storms. But as you mentioned, how do we get through this? One of the challenges, as you mentioned, men don't communicate. That's one major thing, right? But I'm going to flip it back, because men, sometimes we don't like confrontation. So if I communicate to you my feelings or my issues, will you weaponize the information after I give it to you? So a lot of men withhold their feelings and emotions because if I tell you how you feel, will you get depressed and shut down? What makes me want to stress out and don't want to deal with it? Because that happens a lot. Some people, they sweep stuff under the rug because communication may not be safe. It may not be safe, and vice versa. If a wife communicates to her husband, and he turn over tables because he said she said you gain a little weight. You ain't, your feet stink. We got to do something. Oh, you supposed to take me? Oh, I'm not good enough no more. No, I'm just saying, like, what? Wash your feet, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean. But it's the communication safe, right? But then here's scripture. It's spirit and in truth. You have to speak truthful, because if you want this thing to work, as you mentioned, Lady T, you got to get down to nitty gritty with certain things. But the issue is, especially for men, it's like, man, I don't feel like I pick my battle. You know what I'm saying? That's what men do. We just pick our battles. But sometimes it's to our detriment, because certain things that need to be communicated aren't communicated. But those feelings that we have, they go other places. They funnel themselves, through aggravation. They funnel themselves through sneaking off watching pornography. They funnel themselves drinking alcohol. They funnel themselves being aggravated and physically violent. And so, Lady T, I really appreciate what you said in regards of you got to communicate no matter what, because that's a major challenge in marriages. Some people I'm picking my battles, because if I say something, you may take it personally, and all of a sudden, you have low value about yourself, and that wasn't even the intent. I'm just telling you what I need. But now I'm not going to say anything, because when I expressed it to you, you bit me. So I'm like, I don't want to get bit. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
Yeah. I was thinking about, I'm thinking, like, when you're married, though, I would think you would know that person well enough that your communication style has been, like, to a level of expert. You know what I mean? Like, y'all, if you got married to that person, you've known that person long enough that y'all have had some difficulties. You had some things that y'all had to work out verbally, like, because you married that person and it took that time. It took experience. But there's going to be devastations, like, God forbid our children, die. Those type of things, tragedy that really can, break a marriage, is something that is like a real test of communication. The things that we do on a daily basis, working out our bills, paying things, getting things done, taking care of children, things like that. That's minute when it comes to the real tragedies of life that can break a marriage. Right. And then that's the thing, when you are able to go to somebody and have a way of communicating is important, because we don't express ourselves enough, and we need to have somebody that we can express ourselves to. If it's not going to be your spouse, you need to at least say something that somebody can help you be able to communicate to your spouse. We need to get those things out of us, because the words are there. The emotions are there. They just need to come out. And, that's what I really think, as individually, as people, we need to do better with communicating ourselves, our desires, our thoughts, our reasoning, our behaviors. We need to communicate more to understand us a lot better, to understand why we do what we do. We have to talk about ourselves. We need to express ourselves to one another. But if we're hiding it, if we're holding on to it within the inside because we don't want somebody else to know, we're fooling ourselves. you're going to hurt yourself along the journey of your life, because you're fooling yourself, you're denying the truth, and the truth will set you free if you allow it.
I want to know, one of the
things.
One of the things that, and I'm loving this conversation, because one of the things I've noticed too is what is a turn off, right? I think marriage needs a facelift in regards to the church and how we present it. For years, marriage was deemed as, the ball and chain, right? I'm going to my bachelor party, man. I'm having this one big celebration of fun, and then I'm in prison when I get married. That always bothered me. But one aspect of marriage that really I think is important, and everyone that's listening, I want us to really hone in on this, is the fact that your individuality dies. Where the two shall become one, right? But in that process, who the people are individually suffers. And one thing about my wife, I'm a stickler for this. I said, babe, you're not just my wife. You're not just the mother of my kids. You're Erica, right? You have dreams. You have hobbies. You have you have your thought. You have your individual. We're a unit, yes. But just like my hand, it's a hand, but it has 5 fingers, right? Just like a body still it's a unit, but aspects of it stands out. And I think one of the things about marriage that people really don't grasp is that we literally make marriage as a melting pot when it should be a salad bowl. So we should still be able to stand out for who we are. Your ability, your heart, who you are, what you enjoy, everything. Yes, we're a unit, but my coming with you, it's supposed to enhance who you are. But we don't do that. We feel that as we become married, we literally dissolve the joys. I'm not talking about the craziness. I'm not talking about, the lust and the partying all the time and all that other good stuff. There's even a transition for that. We can party together. You know what I'm saying? Me and you could, we could do things together. But in regards of the dying of me as an individual, yes, the bad thing, we want that to go. That's not fruitful in a relationship. But I'm not going to the electric chair when I get married. I'm walking towards abundant life when I get married. And I think we have to change that commentary about marriage, because that's a major one. Like, man, I gotta lose yourself, right? Eminem. And I'm like, no, man, you highlight who you are. You're bettered when you're with someone. You know what I'm saying? And I think we have to do a better job communicating that aspect of my marriage as well.
I just want to add to that. My idea of how I see marriage, everybody has different of view and everything. I always tell my wife this. I said, babe, don't walk behind me, walk beside me, because this journey we're on, we're walking together. That's how my perception is we walk together. I don't want to walk in front of her, she walk behind me, we walking side by side. We're a unit, like you said, we're a unit. So me and my wife, walk beside each other, because when she's having a rough day, I can see it. Look, she's right beside me. But if she's having a rough day and she's behind me, I can't see that. But if she's right beside me, I can see everything. You know what I'm saying? And then also, I want to say this is that, that's what it's supposed to be. And that's what you have to, you work at, is that you supposed to make each other better. I always tell her that you make me better, I'm going to make you better, because there are going to be things that I can't see, you'll be able to see, and you'll encourage me to say, babe, try this, and then vice versa. I'll be able to do the same thing, and it's all about encouraging. I always say, your spouse has to pour into your life. You want them to pour into your life. You want them to add value to your life. Both, you got to add to each other. Right. There should be no taking away. It should be adding value, responsibilities, covering, You covering because there are going to be times when I'm down. She should be the one that's going to pick you up. Nobody else other than Christ. But that's what your spouse is there for, to uplift you when you're down. And the man's supposed to be doing it. The man is the covering, but the wife is the we always talk about this. The wife is the nurture because that's what she's made to do. But guess what? That is something that's great because when the man is down, she can pick you up. I'm talking about mentally, physically, emotionally. That's the unit of having a wife. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? Us men go through stuff. We have bad days and we don't like talking about it to nobody. We like holding it down. But that's why I love my wife, because you know what? When I'm down, she adds to me. You know, she's always adding to me. She's always adding something to me. And I'm transparent. I always say that. I say that word all the time, is that me, I wasn't a giver. I'm sorry. I was not a giver. I was a taker. And when she came into my life before we got married, is that she taught me how to give and not look for something in return, always giving. And when I did that, I seen something different. You know what I'm saying? The return of being a cheerful giver is great. You know, things come to you unexpectedly. When you got your back turned, you like, oh man, I didn't expect that. And it comes. And that's a part of what she added to my life, just being able to be a giver and not look for anything in return from that individual. God's going to bless me somewhere else. Whatever it is, he's going to bless me. You know, and her devotion, I'm speaking highly of her, because guess what? That's the key to our relationship, our marriage. It's right. Her love for Christ. Nothing else. Some people say, "Oh, you don't find your wife attractive?" Yes, but my desire and I wanted a woman that wholeheartedly wanted the love of Christ, and that's it. After everything else, after that, right? God, I work it out. I'm keeping 100 with you. I'm keeping it buck. That's what I said. I don't care about nothing else. Everything else comes as an addition. My wife is beautiful, yes, but guess what? My focal point was I wanted the foundation, a woman who desired and wanted to live for God. That was it. You know what I'm saying? And so I speak to people and I say that I feel like that should be your focal point, is your relationship with Christ, your relationship with God. And when you focus on that, guess what? The people that's supposed to be in your life, the man that's supposed to be in your life, he'll find you, he'll be there. God will put you in the places where you need to be so you can find that person, or he can find you, shall I say.
You know, I'm gonna say this, and it's not really your yin to your yang. That's a good one.
I know, right?
I love the show Married with Children. Right? Al Bundy's a hilarious cat. And I realized Al loved Peggy, but he didn't like her. Listen to me, married people, and those who want to be married, listen to me. I tell people all the time, I love my wife because I like my wife. That like goes a long way. People that got divorced, they may say I hate my whoever, but for the most part, I just don't like you no more. My thing is, listen, you got like the person that you love. I know people that are related that just say, I mean, I gotta love them because they my cousin. But if you had to do it all over again, you wish you were never related. When you get married, make sure that you like your spouse. That's a fact. Like them, like to hang out with them, crack jokes, eat chips, watch Netflix, crack a laugh, text, flirt. I tell you this much: when you first was attracted and liked your wife, bro, I know you chased. You hit her up. Hey, let's go out. Let's do this. You looking good today. How you doing? Okay, all right. But don't get to that point where you stop liking her. Because let me tell you, man, once you get into that mode of they don't like you or you don't like them, it makes it real difficult. You just love out of obligation, right? Love because of the kids. Love because I can't afford the divorce. Love them because I don't want to I don't want to lose my pension. I don't want to go through the whole process of divorce. If you are listening, please like the person that you love. Like them. If you don't like them, it's going to be very difficult to be with them. Very, very, very difficult to be with them. And that's it. That is the secret to all marriage. And I'll just playing. But listen, that's a big part. That you like that person. You know, you like that person. Like you really like, I like you. I like being around you. I like your presence. I like your style. You know, it's just something about you, right? You don't want those butterflies to turn to mosquitoes, right? You want to keep those same things, man. I'm serious.
No,
Lady T,
right.
am I lying? Am I lying, Lady T?
You're right.
No, you tell the truth. I'm right with you. Yeah, that's it.
Because when our wives leave home, we got to give them something to fight with for those guys that's out there that's really trying to holler at our wives, bro.
For sure.
Like those guys out there gonna see our wives at work walking down the street and try to holler at them, try to be slick, trying to holler. You know, you got to say that stuff before they get. You got to put that investment in before you leave. Like you have to like the one that you love, because I'm telling you, it is going to be a challenge. Like, I just don't like you. That's not good. That's not a good place to be. You don't like your spouse.
Or you can't stand them sometimes.
No.
Like, oh yeah, I just can't stand you right now. You know, you can't have them days either.
I don't want, like, I mean, but
they happen.
They happen.
I'm like, yeah, they do happen. I'm like, marriage is an everyday. You live with this person every single day of your life.
You see how she said
you're gonna
that?
have that. Yeah, you're gonna have that. Man, I just can't stand you right now. And you might not say I don't like you, but I can't stand you. Please, let's just go somewhere else.
I got it.
That's a marriage, right?
I'm
you
sorry.
have to be honest.
No.
That has to happen.
I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, T. That's right. That's right. I'm not doing it. I know y'all probably said it. Listen, the one thing I say, look, I'm encouraging this. Look. It's. I understand that my wife's not perfect, right? So they're gonna be good days. They're gonna be bad days. I'm not gonna be like, oh, listen. Today is.
You're not about to list the imperfections.
I'm like, listen. Look, today is. I'm not having a good day. Look, I don't.
Is it possible though? Let me just ask. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to ask. You know, is it possible that after 15, 25, 35 years, this is possible? That's my question. You can be with somebody for a long time and not stand them at a certain point. That's just how it is in marriages. I don't know what y'all talking about to say that that's not possible and it doesn't happen. Because
no, I didn't say it wasn't possible.
Okay,
I didn't say it wasn't possible either.
But the longevity of a marriage makes you become immune, and then possibly you might change a little bit to say, look, I just can't stand you right now. I'm not gonna say I don't like you. I'm not gonna say I hate you, but I can't stand you. So, you know, I think that is very possible in a marriage, especially longevity.
Lady T, do that face you made when you said I can't stand you real fast. Do that face.
I don't even know what that was.
But let me tell you something. No, I'm telling you, my wife can attest. I've literally seen those faces, right? From people in my family to their spouse. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do everything I can to not see that face.
Aww.
Like literally, like I'm telling you, I'm not walking around stinking. I'm not trying to be like, listen, because that face right there, that face that you made, I can't do it exactly. But the face that you made, I don't want my wife looking at me like that.
Right.
Hey, Aaron, I like the way you do business.
How long have you been married, Aaron?
12 years.
12 years. Congratulations. That's beautiful.
Yep.
We want more 12 years, an additional 12 more years. We want to get it to the 50s and then come back and tell us how life is. Because I love hearing, my parents been married almost 50 years.
God bless them.
Yeah, and they go back and forth with each other. They love each other, but they go back and forth like, you know, I can't stand you sometimes. Go here, go in your room. Go over there. Just go. You need to be by yourself right now because you're not having a good day. And I see it, but they love each other. You know, they don't they don't have that anger and hatred or anything like that. It's just
Like
they work it
bitterness.
out in their way. Right. They've been together for so long. It's like, sometimes they need a break,
Right.
from one another. And I think that is the real rawness of what a real marriage is.
I think you know what, Lady T, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I wasn't agreeing with you either, but
My brother was agreeing, dissing. That's what.
but look, no, but I think that's why somebody had made a comment earlier. That's why it's important, even in your marriage. It's time. You got to take time out for yourself. Longevity. I don't care what it is. Never lose your hobbies. Never lose in things that you enjoy doing as an individual. You
Right.
always have to keep that. That's your time. And guess what? You need that time to enjoy for yourself. And I think that's the most important thing, that when you get to those longevity marriages, is that you never lose yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like bowling, I like swimming, I like working out. I'm 48. I've been working out for the last 30 years. I ain't buff yet, but I still do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lifetime. It's a lifestyle. So I'm not going to stop that. Even I'm working, just doing all the extra stuff for the house and everything. I still got to get that time in. It's my mental. You know what I'm saying? Going out with my friends and the little bit of time I do with them. Family members. It's a little bit of time. That's my time. That's my joy. You know what I'm saying? Along with spending time with my wife and my family. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a part of that we miss. It's never lose yourself. The things that you enjoy. You got to take the time out. And I think that'll scratch I can't stand you. You know what, babe? Today I'm about to go out here and I'm going to hang out with Jeffrey. We going out there to have some lunch today. And, and then come back. When I first got married, my wife, I said, you know what? Yo, you got to give me. COVID had happened, right? So we just got married. So guess what? I don't know about you, Aaron. I don't know about you, Lady T. You just getting married. You just getting with somebody, and you stuck in the house with that person, and you never dated. We really didn't date, hardly. And I was locked in for a whole year with her. Do you understand what that is? You don't know.
I don't know. Was it a good or bad thing?
I didn't know what it would be for me, so I'm not gonna say what it's gonna be for you.
Listen, no, Aaron, no, it was. Look, listen. This is what I said to myself. I survived. That we gonna be great. I survived because I'm gonna tell you something. It was like we gotta watch TV together. We gotta watch movies. We couldn't go nowhere. So guess what? I couldn't go downstairs, use the bathroom. She was right behind me. Like, hey, where you going? I was like,
newlyweds. You're newlyweds. That's
right.
What it is.
So I'm like, yo, I'm going.
No, you don't want to stay here too long. What I'm about to go in here and do.
I said, listen, you got to give me some time. Look, it wasn't no time to say, look, let me go out and hang out and do this and come back. Miss me a little bit. Nah, I was locked in. Locked. So, with that being said, it's like you have to have your time, so you give your opportunity to miss your spouse.
Right.
Oh, I miss you, babe. I missed you.
Right.
What you do today? Have a conversation, be able to talk and say, well, I went out with Stephanie and we had some good time today. We talked about da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? And now we got something to talk about.
Right.
But now you don't have the opportunity. Yes, Lady T, you're going to be like, oh, I can't stand you today. Why you ain't go do something? Go do something. See,
that's too soon.
Not too soon. I'm just saying that's where it come from. Be like, oh my goodness, I can't stand you because you ain't go out there play basketball. Play basketball. Give me some time. And that's why my wife get her nails done. I said, baby, you want to get your nails done? Get your hair done? Go. Let me just be. So we don't have to get that point. That's the words of encouragement.
That's the way of getting rid of her. Is
get your feet done.
No. I'm saying I want that's pampering her.
But you made it seem like
no. I'm saying go get your nails done, babe. I want her to relax.
This is why you don't share the whole plan. You just say go get your feet done.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Go. I'll be like, go get him. She wanted a massage. I say, oh, you want a massage? Okay, I got you. Don't worry. Hey, relax. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I want the opportunity. Like we went to Cali. Me and Lady T are cousins, and she's the co-host. But we was at a wedding. I had a great time. Her oldest daughter got married and we had a great time. She didn't come.
Congratulations.
You know what I'm saying? But it was wonderful. You know, so but guess what? I know when I came home, she's like, "Oh, babe, I missed you. Oh, you missed me, huh? Yes, you missed me, didn't you?"
Was she celebrating when you left? That's the
Word.
question.
No, definitely.
You
She
saw
was like,
old confetti on the floor when you
"Nah."
got
She
home.
was like,
He don't know. He don't know.
Right.
"Lady, really, lady." She
You
was like,
don't know.
"You don't know." She said, "I don't really want to go. I want you to go. I want you to stay. Just send something." I say, "No, I'm not. I'm out of here. See you. Love you, baby."
That's funny, man.
I'm not joking. Listen, I'm being real and honest. You know, I love my wife, but I'll be like, babe, I'm going to enjoy this life, this journey. You supposed to be on with me. She's like,
Right.
no, we got to do this. I said, all right, love you, baby. See you when I get back. She learned.
Peace.
I look. I bet you when we go away again. When I go away again, she like, "Oh, I'm coming." I said, "Yeah, let's go."
You sure you wanted to come, brother? The way you
Yes.
felt
Hey, listen, my singleness, my loneliness, that's them days is over with. That's why I'm married. You feel me? I've been there. I've done that. I don't want to be alone. And I didn't marry her because I was lonely. There was a season that I had to be in at that particular time. The things
Right.
that I had to do to get to understand how to really love her. She's a different individual. She's different from my previous wife. So she's delicate. I had to learn how to love her. I wasn't prepared for that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Before I got married to her, I still was hurting from my divorce. I still was mad, bitter, angry. I had selfish. You know what I'm saying? Not open to listening to nobody. I was like, I'm doing this my way. And guess what? God said, okay, well, you're gonna be going through a lot. And I said, oh my goodness, man. Why? I used to say, why me? He said, no, why not you? Why not you?
And that's that's another conversation of itself, man. People that are going back into getting to new relationships to be remarried. You know, how do you handle, you know, that pain of your past? How did you take all that off, right? The not listening, I want to do it my way, or even just a stigma, right, of being remarried, because there is a stigma, right? It's like a Carfax. You know, you get a car, you see you got an accident, you like, man, seemingly the value, right, goes down because you had a prior, you know, marriage. You know, even that part of it, we have to do a better job as a faith community to really want better for people, but not just say it, but to have practical approaches, have real conversations, right? We don't do a good job of talking about courtships, right? There aren't any courtships in scripture. What did Mary and Joseph do? You know, was they going to the market before? Like, what were they doing? Going to the park? Like, what was Sarah and Abraham doing? So we have to really, really hone in and see where we are today, and to see how we as a faith community, man, could really, you know, support and build relationships, man, because it's not going to fall out of the thin air. And the world is kicking our behind when it comes to conversations about courtships, dating, relationships, all these different things, because, you know, there's no commentary about it. There's no information about it. There's no testimony about it. Everybody's playing it by ear, which every situation is different. But we as a faith community, man, we have to do a way better job of speaking to every situation that is real. Divorce is real. You know, happy marriages are real, right? Issues in marriages are real, right? You know, single parent homes is a real thing. You know, therapy is needed, is a real. Depression, anxiety is a real thing. And, you know, we really have to speak about the real things that we're going through.
Right. And that's why, you know, today's time, you know, that's why the podcast is big, because we having these conversations, not just us, just all over the world, just having these conversations, some of them positive, some of them negative. But, you know, and that's what I think, you know, a lot of people get mixed up with. You know, sometimes things that sound good to the ear, but it's not good to the soul, not good to the spirit. You know, I mean, ask you guys, this is all relevant. So I was watching I was watching a podcast. Young lady said, Lady T, this is for you. She said, when she's dating a guy, she asked the guy, when you leave me, are you standing behind me or in front of me? What would be your thoughts on that? If someone's leading you,
leading. Okay.
leading, yeah, would they be in front of you or in the back of you?
Jeopardy music.
I was like, are you asking me? Like,
yeah, I'm asking you.
I'm leading myself. You know my answer. I'm sorry. I'm not married. I have authority within me. God lives within me. God is leading me. So if my man is with me, just like you said about your wife, he will be beside me. There's no in front and behind. He's beside. I'm next to his heart. I'm next to him, side by side. Arms side by side. We're not doing the back. You know, I'm looking at you in the back of your head and you looking at me in the back of my head. We're not doing that. We're looking at each other face to face, side by side. So you already know me. I don't know why you asked me that question.
Yes, it's self-explanatory, brother.
What about you, Aaron?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Well, let me get a little biblical and philosophical here. Scripture says the woman came from Adam's rib, right? If you look up the significance of a rib cage, it protects the vital organs. It protects your heart. It protects the lungs, sternum, all those aspects from being crushed, or it keeps it up. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you together. And in regards of leading, if I lead from the front or from behind, I think honestly, if I am the head, I would do the front only because we're called as the priest and husbands to be the first to do something. To be the first to sacrifice, the first to forgive, the one to protect. Not saying that women can't protect themselves. Women can protect themselves. But in regards of our spiritual responsibility to our women, we're supposed to die as Christ loved the church, right? We're supposed to love our wives. Christ died for the church. We're supposed to literally be willing to give ourselves up for our spouses. And so, not saying no, kind of stereotypical, behind every good man is a good woman, and that kind of jargon. None of that. I just feel it is my divine duty to protect, guide, shield, and watch. My back is not uncovered because she's fighting the stuff that comes behind, so her direction we may be back to back fighting the stuff and moving together. But for me, I would say the front. I'm called to be, the first, and not in levels or patriarchy, not that. But yeah, that's what the head means. You're supposed to be the first to forgive. And love.
I see you smiling. I was going to say something.
Hey, hold on. Now, Aaron.
Yeah.
And Lady T, I'm laughing because now I was listening to both of y'all, right? So the lady said that is and the guy. I'm not sure who the guy was, but he said that's the wrong answer. And then as I start looking at who they were, right? I said, yeah, they don't understand. They're not looking at it from a biblical aspect. They're looking at it from a natural aspect. And the reason why I say that is because, listen, when you protect something, you're in the front. You're not in the back. If I'm going to be your protector, I have to see. I'm not talking about leadership and dictatorship. If I'm going to protect you, the woman, I have to be in the front. if I'm going to protect myself, I have to be able to protect you mentally, physically. I have to be able to do that. Guess what? I cannot protect somebody that I can't protect myself. So in order for me to protect a woman, right, I have to be strong. I have to be strategic about how I'm going to protect you as the individual. That's the key. And so when you leading, you have to be wise. You can't be a fool in leading. They said the blind
Be
leading the
qualified.
blind.
Gotta be
You,
qualified.
and I say this to Lady T all the time. A man cannot lead if he can't lead his own family. He can't lead. God don't want no man to lead in a church or anything if he can't not do his own family that way. He has to be encouraging to his family. He has to show leadership, because guess what? How can you lead anybody and your family not following you? Your family not listening to you, encouraged by you. It's not biblical. It's not how can I say it? It's not even natural for somebody to lead. There are a lot of leaders that's doing this, but guess what? They're not really being a good leader, because guess what? They're not leaving their own home. They're not being the priest of their home, the king of their home. You understand me? So when I looked at that, I was like, no, I'm definitely gonna be in the front. I'm protected. I make sure before, when you walk across the street, I look both ways. Then I'm okay, but all right, babe, it's safe. My daughter's, hey, she grown, but I'm making sure. Hey, I look. She might not be looking. She might be doing something. Hey, babe, hold on. What you doing? See what I'm saying? Protection. My thing is this. I seen my father do a lot, but I learned a lot. When I walk in the house, my wife don't walk in the house first. I say, wait. I'm not. God know I ain't lying to y'all. When we in our own home, we walk in that front door. I walk in that front door first. When we go upstairs into that apartment, I walk in the front door first. She does not walk in. I want to make sure it's safe. All right, let me open the door. Let me look in it. Okay. You never know. That's just a natural thing. I have a natural thing for protection. When somebody talking to her wrong, hey, yo, hey, I don't care who you are, mother, father. Hey, this is my wife. You're not gonna talk to her like that. All right, pack your stuff. Let's go. When it's time for me to get aggressive, I get aggressive when it comes down to that. You might not say that's Christ-like, but guess what? When it comes to my wife, I get real protective. I get real aggressive. I say, hey, you ain't gonna talk to her like that. Go tell your kids that. Tell your mother that. Don't tell her that. She ain't your kid.
They calling you. They calling you bluff. She calling you bluff.
No, she ain't calling my bluff.
Let's get back to something. We talked about earlier how the Bible, I don't know if we said it exactly, but the Bible was created, right, by various authors. There's no single person. Mm-hmm. There's certain leaders, scribes, Jewish prophets, but it was all inspired by God, is what we say. Mm-hmm. But also remember, we talked about that back then it was a patriarchal world. Mm-hmm. So why would y'all think that the Bible wasn't created in a patriarchal way, that you all look and appear to be as the leaders in the Bible? So that's all y'all know. When you talk about the Bible, men are always going to tell me, oh, I'm the leader. I lead. My wife, I'm leading, because that's what the Bible was written based off of the time that it was written. It was inspired to be put together. It's a patriarchal way. But I always wonder, like, we always talk about women as if they're nothing and, they need protection. I agree. We do need protection. I'm not saying that we don't. A man can be in the front and lead me, but I say if you're side by side, you can see both directions, and then you can get in front of me or behind me if necessary. Okay? Whatever is necessary.
Before I know Aaron want to say something, I want to say this to you, Lady T. You said the Bible was made for a man to seem like he's the leader, right? Is that correct? Is that correct, Lady T? Okay. Just think about this, Lady T. I can understand and I respect what you're saying, but you got to remember, in those times there were a lot of wars and battles that men have
I understand.
had, right? Far as um, territory battles, okay,
Yes.
that they fought. And
Yes.
so, hope you saying yes, but listen, I'm asking you this question.
But
If you're in a battle and you fight in that battle, do you actually want, as a human being, would you want somebody to tell you what to do after you won a battle or you want to fight? You want
okay.
someone to tell you what to do?
Okay.
Just from a human
This is
perspective.
okay. Again, you like hopping from one thing to another. We're not talking about a battle and fighting. We're
That's that
talking about
time. That's
okay, at the
the time.
time that was necessary. I get it, but women were not respected. You know that at that time. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. We're basing a lot of what we read in the Bible off of the time of when the Bible was put together, and women were not respected. You already know that. Men, it was a patriarchal way, it was a patriarchal system, and men had their laws and they said it was going to be this, this, and that. We spoke about it when it came to divorce. We spoke about how men told everybody, the women and the children, what was going to be. So that's why I'm like, I listen to you men sometimes talk about the Bible, and it bothers me because you still think that today in this world, this modern day, that yes, you want to tell me that you are the leader, the head of the house. Okay, I understand. You can have that. You can have that role because you want to have that. It makes you feel macho. Okay, fine. But let's really be honest. That's not always the case. You know, some men need a woman to lead in whatever it is, finances. It could be the economics of whatever their household is. Women will lead something, but you can, as a man, be like, I'm leading, I'm protecting. Okay, yeah, you can have that. Men
Well,
should be protectors. I agree with that. We all want a man that wants to protect us as a family. So I get that because that's what y'all were born to do. We are here to bear the children, nurture, take care of the home. You are to provide. You are to profess. You are to protect. You all are supposed to do something that women are like, you're taking care of me and I'm taking care of you. But it's done in a mutual, respectful way. And that was not the case when the Bible was written. So when I hear this
so where did you get that from?
about what?
What you just said. If you didn't get it from the Bible in regards of nurturing, loving women's role is this, caring of the children, men, you see, where did you get that logic from?
The logic of women caring for the children. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Mhm.
I mean, that was it. That's the Genesis story, right? The women will, have the children and take care of the home, and the man will be the one to, till the land, the work. It
You
was
agree with
already
that? You agree with that though?
so let me tell you something. I don't agree with a lot of things
Mhm.
that are said. I think that the Bible was written for an agenda, for a purpose, and it has
Mhm.
been fulfilled. We are coming to a different age, though, and so things are about to change. But I think that the Bible was written for a man, for the man in the system of the man. I don't know everything, but I don't believe everything. So I think that words can be manipulated, they can be changed, and we can learn from the manipulation and the wrong story in a totally different way of thinking. And that's where we come. That's where we are. That's how we were brought into this world. We were told the Bible. Remember how us as slaves, Black people, we were told the Bible. We did not read it. We did not understand it. So we were told what was written. We had to interpret it the way that it was written to, or explained to us how it was written. And so we've had these stories in our mind for a very long time. And these stories have evolved, and we have not really done the digging to understand the metaphorical reasons of the Bible, because there's some symbolic reasons of why it was written. And it's not on surface. It's not in between those words. It's like what you're basically having to read in between the lines to understand, because it's like decoding the Bible, and we're not doing that. So that's what I say.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. Um, in regards of, you said the Bible is written for a patriarchal, it's written for men.
Do you disagree with that?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Some of the most respectful, morale, uplifting, empowering things about women came through scripture.
How much? Not many. Not many. Not
No,
many
like,
at all. Not many
really?
at all. Nope.
So in regards of women empowerment, in regards of dignity, in regards of respect, what manuscript, what book, or what have you heard from people that is beyond you being made in the image of God?
I think you have to get outside of the Bible.
So let's go outside the Bible.
Yeah, getting outside the Bible means you read the other apostles and you read about them, their behavior, their attitude, what they thought. Mary Magdalene, was it Mary Magdalene, who was very close to Jesus. She and Jesus were they were loved deeply. There was something about their relationship that Peter, he was jealous about. Like, we don't know a lot of things about, the hidden truths of the Bible and the characteristics of the people, of the prophets, and why they acted the way they did. But you will have certain books in the book of Ruth. You will have certain prophetess in the Bible that you will read about, but not many. There's not many. You don't really hear about women in wisdom. You'll hear the Proverbs. We read wisdom in Proverbs. We can read that, but it's not much. So most of it is basically about a man. There's not much. You can get some stuff. You can get some stuff in the Bible about women.
So are you saying just the input of the manuscripts, or the actual information about women is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I don't know about the manuscripts. I just know what the Bible says now, how it was created for now, what we read as the Bible today. It is basically for the benefit of a man. This is the man who has, think about the Bible when it was created. It was created by men. Women did not put this Bible together. Women did not have anything to do with it.
So let me ask you a question then, Lady T. You remember the story about Solomon and Gomorrah?
Okay.
What did Lot's wife do?
She looked behind her, and yes.
Okay. Adam and Eve. What did Eve do?
And what is your point? You are basically telling me the wrong thing right now.
I can see the steam coming out her ears, brother.
Yeah, you're
hold
not saying anything I should be
on.
listening to right now. All right, well, what are you trying to say? Get to it, because I can't answer your questions no more. Go ahead.
Why not?
Because I want you to answer. I want you to say what you're going to say. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Adam and Eve. What did Eve do? Hold on. I'm going. So you don't want to answer. Hold on. You don't want to answer. You don't want to answer. So I'm going. What did the lady at the well? What was her issue?
What was her issue? Did we know? Did Jesus say what the sin was? No. We thought we knew. Are we talking about the lady at the well when he met the lady at the well and she's like, I know you live with the man and all that. Stop sinning. Do we know what that sin was? No. Yes. But we know what we know from the book being created the way it was. That is my point.
But this is
Aaron, please understand. Aaron, do you understand my point? Is what I want to know.
I understand what you're saying. No, I understand what you're saying.
T, I didn't say I didn't understand you.
You have these conversations on a regular basis all the time, and I'm having this conversation now with Aaron because I am not having this conversation with you.
So what I gather what she's saying. What I gather what she's saying is, in regards of the patriarchal system, man is up here. This story is about women being sold to this place, and scriptures, women should learn in silence, right? Things of that nature. But even that has to be in context. But I will say this: there's a reason Well, one, women were uniquely made. There's things that women can do that man could never do. And there are a lot of things that men do that women can. As you mentioned, women can be strong. My mother's just a single parent. She raised us, right? So you have the capability of creating the child, keeping the child in your womb, right? My body, my choice, right? And on top of that, because of the situation, the social dynamic, have the ability to raise people, right? But the thing is that you're saying that there's a patriarchal thing. There's not much empowerment. The entire church is called the wife, the bride of Christ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And don't really know much about it, do we? Because it's not really mentioned that much. So that is like when I say the bride of Christ, when we hear it in the Bible, it only talks about Jesus, but speaking of it in Old Testament, it speaks about it, but you don't really know much about it. You have to dig deep. That is an internal thing that you as an individual have to seek for yourself to understand the true bride of the Christ of the church, what the church really is, because it's inside of you. That's not outside. It's not a building. So, the church is here. The temple is the church, and we don't have understanding. We've been taught a lie. That's all I'm saying. We've been taught a building. We've been taught outside to seek outside of ourselves. We are to seek within. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is within. It is within you. It is not outside of you. We seek outside. We look for outside approval. We look for outside justification. We look for outside, rationale. We're looking outside. That's all I'm saying. So yes, it's interesting. That's all I'm saying.
It's and that's the thing with this is why Christ is so important, because even the social constructs and how we see women, how women are viewed in society, Jesus demonstrated what God's intent actually was. The woman with the issue of blood, technically she was considered unclean. When she walked down the street, people would yell out unclean because she was bleeding, right? The Samaritan woman, he knew her situation. She only came out when they went to church, right? Mary Magdalene, the one that literally washed his feet with her hair. The message of telling the brothers, they were the brave ones going to the tomb when these brothers was out there hiding. So when we're talking about really up to date and not turning the world right upside down, but turn the world right side up, Jesus presented that, and he really showed the level of equality. Even Paul in some of his writings, we talk about women learning silence and all these different things. The reason he did that in context, there was a group of feminists out there that was going to the church, disrupting church. That's why, and then in the middle of church, women would stand up in the middle of worship, ask a bunch of questions, and call it disrupting the church. So he said to control that, women ought to ask their husband at home or learn in silence.
And that was one church, right? That was one church.
That's another aspect in regards of going deeper, because we only dig deep in regards of the entire story of scripture. But with this one situation, with the women leading or preaching and things of that nature, we take, I don't want no woman having authority of a man, because Eve was deceived first and Adam wasn't. We do no deep study even more on that. The fact that at the time women couldn't read or write. So of course, I'm not going to have a woman preach or minister because she can't read or she don't know the articles of God. She don't know that. But on the flip side, if you read the book of Romans, or you see the Hebrew women that literally told the Pharaoh and was lying to the Pharaoh about the Hebrew boys that were being born. And you have the story of 2 Christian women that being fed to lions for their faith. These women allowed, even the book of Romans and Corinthians had worship in these women's houses, and they read what Paul was writing. They literally was ministering what he was writing. That's right in scripture. Now that's not a book outsourced in Hebrew about Josephus or some special doctor from 100 years ago. Paul's greetings have women's names and what they did. The first deaconess, I'm gonna find a scripture. He gave shout out to this woman.
Oh yes, I know. Paul
So-
has a lot of impact on the whole church itself, and I'm not even going Paul. But look,
But overall, I understand what you're
Paul
saying.
had a lot to do about the church too. I think this is Paul's church. Honestly, this is not Jesus Christ's church, because he would be appalled about this church, and it's probably why the Revelation talks about the different churches. But we're not going to go there. Point is,
we could go there.
that's one of those topics we won't have to do another day. 'Cause, I love talking about the Bible. I do, but there's like more to it that we have not been taught, and I think that I love to see us become more evolved as spiritual beings and understand truth, because lies have been hidden. Like the lies and deceit, then the truth has been hidden. Lies and deceit have been in this world for a very long time, and the controlling factor of it has been manipulating our mind through the spirit realm, and we are not paying attention to that, and we need to get outside of it. We need to understand a lot more than just going through the Bible. So I love Chef. He loves to talk about the Bible, but will he go outside of the Bible and understand outside? I don't know.
Yeah, I have, Lady, but
I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know.
Lady, this is the thing. Listen, I too have daughters. I have female cousins that are like sisters, but they're cousins. Guess what? As a man, right? If I seen you with a man, right, and I seen that, hey, I'm gonna show you something. Because I'm a husband, I think like I have my perspective of it as a husband, as a brother, you know what I'm saying? As a protector, as a leader, right? So if I see a man with you and I see he's mistreating you verbally, physically, right? And I'm saying to myself, I will question if that's the right guy for you. And the reason why I'm saying that to you is because I understand what it is to love unconditionally. So when I see something that's outside of that, I question it. And so the point that I'm saying to you is that I understand that I have to love unconditional. I have to have compassion. I have to have empathy. I have to have humility. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about the Bible, I understand that I am able to break it down to where it's not about me. It's about what God has in the Bible. And so I'm saying to you is that I will never tell my wife that I'm the boss. You go and listen to me. That's not what God intended.
I know.
That's not what he wants. So I'm not preaching that. I'm not saying that to no man that you talk to your wife like that. You have to, as a leader, you have to be humble. There are things that my wife is better at. Guess what? I'll be like, babe, you better at that. You're gonna have to take control of that. See, that's humility. So I don't need to say I'm a leader. I'm the boss. I don't need that. I don't have to say that. It's known already because the way I act, my character, the way I present it to my wife.
And she's a leader too, because she acts and presented as a leader as well, right? Would you agree?
Of course. Guess what? Yes,
Yeah.
she's going. Look, watch this. Hold on.
Yeah.
She's going to. Now, I will not have my wife, and I don't know any man that would have my wife be leaders to men. She is going to be leaders to women. She's going to go to women's devotion and lead them into their thing. She's not going to go into a group of men and say, listen, I'm going to be the leader of this and we're going to lead you guys. No, she's not going to do that. That's the perspective place. She's a minister. She's not going to go to a
But God may make her go in that direction.
No, she's not. No.
Oh,
trust me.
okay.
I'll get her on it.
Okay, I'm trusting you because God said that he's going to do that for you. Yeah. Whatever you tell me.
Go ahead.
So I got two questions for both of y'all.
Go ahead.
So to Lady T, without using the Bible, right? Tell me what you think or you feel is the responsibility of a man without using the Bible.
Without using the Bible.
And then D, I want you to tell me in regards of, you mentioned your wife not being a leader of men.
Yeah.
Would you agree because the woman is the mother of our sons, they are the first teacher to cultivating the men they ought to become.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Let me get to my question because
But-
I
but-
ate.
So you
and
first,
asked
and
me
then you
first.
say.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. So, with outside of the Bible, I have had in my spirit for a very long time questions, and I did not understand why things were the way they were. So I always asked questions, and information came to me. Right? I didn't understand how God could create a man first, but women have the children. Never understood that. We are the ones that bring the child into life. I've read things, I've understand things. So I don't, that's what I said about the Bible. I don't know for a fact that everything that was written is true in the Bible. And I'm going to be very honest. I'm going to be that Christian that says that because I cannot swear on any of that because I was not there. I don't know nothing about it. But I do know that no man can bring forth life, that no man can have a child, only a woman. So now I'm left with, okay, so the Bible says, without the Bible, but we're bringing the Bible, okay?
Mhm.
It says that from the rib, the woman was created, right? That's hard for me to believe too, because I don't understand how there's two creation stories in the Bible, which there is. And of course, I've always questioned why there's one and two different versions of stories in the Bible, but two creation stories.
Keep a pin in that too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So there's two creation stories in the Bible. So, something about that stuck in my mind. I questioned and I don't understand it, but I do know something ain't right. So I always said the last will be the first and the first will be the last. That was always in my mind. Always kept hearing that. And that's how I see about women. So women were the first is what I could possibly be open to understanding and accepting too. Because I'm not going to say I know everything and I know the truth, but I can be open to say it is a possibility that we were lied to. And that is something that could be revealed in our future. There's going to be truth that is going to come to us. So I have kept my mind open to having more of a flexibility that everything I read and was told is not all true. But yet I know spirit resides in us individual people. And so children are born from women. And so women have a powerful role that is not acknowledged in the Bible. They're actually, this is a total disrespect of women. Like we're just some dogs or something, especially in the Old Testament is how they put us. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, I have a different outlook about the Bible and about us as people, how we were really created in this world. Do I believe that there's other ways that we came in here? Yes, I am. My mind is open. I do not shut my mind to anything because I don't know nothing. I have no knowledge of anything, but I know that I'm curious and I will be always curious and try to understand. That's it. But I'm not going to be, oh, this is the one way and that's it. I just want to, be open to something that could possibly be true or it could be false.
So you know what I'm about to say, right?
No.
You just mentioned how it was disrespectful that women have no kind of presence in scripture and not powerful presence, not enough presence. But you have yet to tell me what our presence is as men without using that Bible. What is our role as men without using the Bible? We're not talking about priests of the household. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that. I feel disrespected. Did you feel disrespected? We don't know yet.
I feel disrespected.
No. The man, I feel like because a woman brings forth the child, the man is to basically learn how to be a protector of the woman. That is exactly what I think. Yep. The reason why is because the woman is created to nurture because of the way the body is made for the woman to be a nurturer of the child. The man does not nurture children. They don't have anything on their bodies to nurture a child when it comes to breast sucking, the breast, none of that. There's none of that's what I'm really referring to of nurture. We are created to nurture our children. The man is here to protect and be I'll say a guide, because a guide is a protection, is a protection. So that is why I think a man is here. The muscular framework of a man is totally different from a woman. The hips are totally different from a woman. Everything about the man's body and a woman's body are totally different, but their purpose is for like coming together. To bring forth the family, you need a strong man and a strong woman to bear the fruit of their children, to bring forth the family, to have a man to protect. So I do believe that a man is to protect because of his structure, of his way, of how his body was created. But the woman, of her structure and her way of her body, she is to be bearing children, taking care of the children, because that is her body structure. She is able to give the milk from her body, not a man. That can't happen. So a man has strong muscles than a woman. That's what I mean. So he is to protect a woman. That is my opinion. That's how I feel.
But I just
all on anatomy.
I just want to say one thing real quick, Aaron. Then I'm gonna let you go ahead and get this. You mean to tell me that's the only purpose? Because that's all I heard is to protect.
Yes, because he will learn.
I'm sorry to tell you, you are very. I don't have. Okay. I won't let Aaron.
Anatomy. I gave you anatomy.
You are very delusional.
Okay, Aaron. I gave you the body structure, meaning why our bodies are built the way they are.
But you know what? That's good, bro. And what? Because I asked that question because you want to come from a perspective outside of Scripture, and you look at the actual physical structure, what you know to be true. Protector. Right? And you say it in a sense, because you're protector, you ought to lead. Not lead like we run stuff, as as Dee said, but it was like what do you mean by lead? Just real quick. I know I'm just asking a bunch of questions.
You're asking me, right?
Yeah. What do you mean by lead?
Protect. So when you are a man, you are basically having the ability to carry more, right? To put on a burden more than a woman would. So that is the leading, the burden part of what the struggle, of the intensity of whatever you're picking up, of the heaviness of whatever you're putting on your back. It can be physical. It can be something that's in the world going on, but that man will have to deal with that, because that is the protection that he is giving to the woman. The woman has no type of structure in her body. I mean, she could try, but structure in her body to become the man, where she can hold on to all of the physicalness or
but Sid, it's crazy. People want to misconstrue what you say and say, as a woman, I disagree with what you just said. I can carry all of that weight. Right. I can carry. But this is what I'm saying. This is why objective truth is necessary, because you're gonna have I know women that body build. Yes, they can carry some weight. Me too. And they can carry babies. Yep. Right. But you just mentioned, now we took the Bible out of there, we took it all out, and you just said from a physical standpoint, and then you even broke it down to a philosophical standpoint. You went both ways, and you literally voiced exactly what our position is and what it's supposed to be biblically. Mm-hmm. We're not called to be masters over women. We're called to lead, and we're called to. That's all Dennis was saying. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you took the Bible out of it. You see it.
But I know Dennis. I know Dennis.
Dennis, did you not say that? Is that what you said? Those two elements.
But he also said that he would not have his wife preach in front of men. And I'm like, well, what if her?
Don't change my words.
He said lead.
Lead.
I said lead.
But I said, well, what if God put her into a place that she had to do that? You said no. And so that's what I mean when he is saying and dictating over what God may have for her life. The
difference is this. If God says, Esther, I want you to go preach over at a church, guess what? I will be attending, because I'm in the I'm in that. I'm in the leadership. So there is not
men there. Put that point in there. A bunch of men that she will have to lead. Will you sit back and watch and say, yes, Lord, let her do what it is that you have for her will? What does that mean? I'm just asking.
I'm using these words.
Okay.
Preach, not lead.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
There's a difference, though.
But do you understand, Aaron, how we are having this conversation? It's hard for him to understand me.
Lady T,
because I'm not saying nothing, but you understand what I'm doing. You know?
But you got to understand one thing, and
what?
this is not opinion. This is not an opinion. This is a fact. A woman can only tell a man how to be a man and go through things of her assumptions, because our communication, our love language is very much different. Okay, how we communicate and how we become the men we are supposed to be is
philosophical.
She about to flip it back on you because she gonna say
come from another
philosophical man. Was the word I liked when you said, Aaron, that I was being philosophical. We did not have text, and we were all back in the time when no words were written. It was all our words. So words matter, and if a woman is speaking words that philosophically are sound and it is in point with love and in the direction of the Spirit of God, that is all that matters. There should not be any question of who that person is. It's about what Christ says, or, the inner Christ inside that person that's letting the light show to all individuals. So that's what should matter most. So, I mean, whenever we have these conversations with Dennis, I know you're new, Aaron, but when we have these conversations with Dennis, this is what him and I go back and forth, because I don't know why we do this so much, but.
Well, we can land a plane here. Because in Christ, we are one, right? There's no male, no female, no Greek, no Jew, no slave, no free. We're all one, right? And the first person to tell us that we're all one was your homeboy Paul. he said that. And so, and it's very difficult, honestly, Lady T, it's very difficult to imagine the purpose of a man without borrowing from the Bible, because that's all that we know. It's ingrained in our psyche on what it looks like. The issue is the people that wrote the scripture after they've been inspired and God taught it, and it obviously makes sense, because even you mentioned even physically the hips. Right, women can't, do certain things because of the hips, and the build of men with more upper body, women more, and so even scientifically in regards of our anatomy, right, it fits. Now to my brother Dennis, though, however, because I'm under the belief that women can preach, but in regards of leading, I do agree that men should lead. But I also say this, though, because we can't preach to a woman on how they feel either. And the thing is, what happens is, what we try to dominate the space of what a church supposedly, we're a body. And you know that to be true. We're a body. We all have different places and some preach, some evangelize, some disciple. We have all different aspects of the body where we all play our part. And I think in some churches, actually a lot of churches, women's roles get very minimized when it comes to that, even if our churches are filled with women. They're filled with them. So it only makes sense to say you should have a leadership role. But on the flip side, Lady T, there are women that do not want to be led by other women. They don't.
I believe that.
They want men,
mm-hmm.
and they call it their rightful place. They want men to be in the forefront. They want men to be there, to be the protection. And so, I mean, I hear what you're saying in regards of, because like I said, I'm a man, but I'm definitely understand how sometimes, and I think it's because of our social situation and what we see today, just the demoralization and the cheapening of women's value in today's society. So when we hear, a lot of that stuff is PTSD, because you got black folks that hear, well, I'm a slave for Christ. And we like, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
So it hits us a little different because of the social constructs of where we are right now. But as Christ said, even about divorce in Genesis, it was not so. It was not like that. There was value placed on all of our positions, whether you're caring and nurturing the child and ministering to a child through your lifestyle. If your lifestyle is messed up and you have the child, that child suffers. If you don't even desire to even want to minister through childbirth, if you don't want to, you have to minister to our sons and our daughters first. You're the first teacher. Like, you're the one that really has a place to decide, really have the influence if this child is going to be an atheist, if they're going to serve this, if they're going to do that.
In
So
the womb. In the womb. That's right.
Hey, I want to get to my question. Can you repeat?
Oh, go ahead. You got your question. Will we repeat it?
Repeat my question, because I got stuff for you.
So, in regards of women not leading men, what do you define, or what do you say about, as I mentioned, the mother? Because we saw that picture of the umbrella: Christ, man, woman, children.
Yep.
Right. That aspect of the mother, the woman, pouring into the children first. Right. What do you define that as? What do you say? What do you say to that?
All right. I'm gonna speak from my experience. Everybody's experience is different. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, my moms loved me unconditionally, along with my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But what my father instilled was structure. He taught me how to respect my mother. He taught me how to respect. So my father gave me the structure part as for a man, and how I'm supposed to present myself, how I'm supposed to carry myself. Was I a little wild and crazy a little bit? Yeah, but that's my mom's taught me the loving part. I seen the love that she gave unconditionally, even when I'm doing something wrong. Oh, come here, son. She made it fun, even when I was wrong, even when I was doing something out of the ordinary. She showed me love. But my father gave me the structure part. And as a man now with children and a wife, that's what I present to men. You have to have structure. Discipline comes with structure. It's how you discipline, how you structure the household or the family. And so when you say, and I hear her say about the first, my mom's only taught me love, how to love, and that's why I'm a loving person. That was her thing. Her love for me and my brothers was unconditional. The structure part came from my father. My dad had us in church all the time. My family is a church going people. It wasn't always correct. I learned my own way, but I learned it through them. They've sowed the seed, and guess what? When they sowed the seed, the love of Christ in me. And so when I hear that, I'm like, it depends on the circumstance, because very well, my mom showed me love, but my father showed me structure. And that's why I'm the man I am today, because of my father. And was my father he was a great provider, but there was other things. I'm not knocking him for the things he missed, but guess what? The provision of providing, that's what I saw. That's why I'm the person I am. That's why I go out there and grind, work 2 jobs before, hustle and bustle. I saw my dad. Now my mom's gave me the love, the nurture part. I think that is the biggest and the most important job that a woman can give to the sons, and I won't even say the sons, the children. It's because guess what? The love that you give them, the love that you pour into your child, the love that he or she will give to the atmosphere, she will give to the world. That's the love. And so I think that's the most important part, is the love. You know what I'm saying? You got love from the mother, it's going to overspill in everything that you do.
And look at the high emphasis. And this is what kind of always bothered me. When we talk about women glorifying God and childbearing, right? People would take that part and be like, oh, that's all I am is a baby. I just pop out babies. That's just all I'm good at, right? It's the woman that helped birth the nation. Like God put a high emphasis on that ability for the woman. You uniquely stand apart. Because my brother mentioned his mom your mother showed you love, right? Then somebody will put in the chat, or somebody will argue, well, men don't love. We got the capability of loving too. But literally, what a woman does, we can't do. And this really is for Lady T. When you talk about the Bible really just kind of suppresses and decreases the value of women. Look how the world views childbirth today, to the point where it's like, I don't even want to do it. I'm killing this baby. I'm gonna do all these different things. There's no value, no high emphasis for some. I won't say all, but for some people, in regards of the important, it would not be a Moses, Israel. The woman had to carry that nation was in her womb. And so it's more to your value, of course, than just childbearing and popping out babies and your feet swelling up and all that stuff. But let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you this right now. I couldn't do it. I'm just telling you right now. And it's so much other credit I can give the women biblically and also personally. My mother is my hero. She is the reason why I'm a minister. And the whole, woman can't raise no man. The devil is a liar. Because my mother raised 3 sons, and we turned out all right.
No, let's correct that. Not all right. You turned out great.
We turned out good.
Hey, great.
We turned out good. You know what I'm saying? So the value, who you are, the importance, all those different things, you literally have no choice. If you ask an atheist what the purpose of a man is, not women, because women go, well, you carried a baby, but what the purpose of a man, they have no choice but to borrow from a Christian worldview or a theist worldview to make their worldview make sense in regards to the purpose of a man. Because they're going to say strength. They're going to say protection. They're going to say the breadwinners. They're going to go back to the caveman and how we went to get the food. They're going to say those things. But that's still provision. That's provide.
But it's the body. It's the body. If you agreed with how the body is created for man and woman, that is exactly why. We evolved as, hunter and gatherer types, but our body structures are meant for a purpose. And that purpose is to be a strength to and protect a woman, because the woman is bringing forth the child. The womb of the child, the baby needs to be protected. That was the man's job. If you take the Bible out, just think of the bodies. That's all I'm saying.
Now, I will say this. Now I'm taking the body out. I'm taking the Bible out.
Okay.
Objectively, why, if the Bible didn't exist, right? Because you just mentioned, we're hunter and gatherers, right? Which is that's a element of evolution, right? That view. One, the person that presented evolution, he wasn't even there when it was written. 2, all right, because that's a leap of faith too, because we weren't there, right? 2, who says we had to care and protect for the woman? If there is no objective moral value, why should we? Why, in regards of the Bible being gone, why should we care about the woman with the child?
Okay. Again, it is all about community, family. If you are, think about it. As human beings, do you want to be alone and get your food and do your life alone? You're going to have more sense. It would make more sense to be selfish. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it makes more sense to be selfish, then yes. But if you are not going to be selfish and you want to have a community and you want to have a family, let's just say that. Let's just say we want that. Okay. So if you have that, I base it off of the body. Like the body is the main thing. If you look at us as people, the
Mhm.
body tells you like what the role is supposed to be. You men are more logical. You think in your structure of way of life and how you want to, think things through. We'll say you're more logical. Women are more intuitive, more loving, more compassionate. We're different. We have our different abilities. So it is the body structure. That is why I say I'm not going off the Bible. I'm going off how our bodies are as people, human beings, and how we were created to do a purpose. And our purpose says that man's not supposed to have children. Man has the ability to be strengthened and have more of muscle than women. So that is a factor of putting that to work. You must do work in this world. You will not be able to be selfish and live alone and then not do a damn thing and sit on the couch and do nothing, play games all day. No, that doesn't work. You have to do work. There's work in it. So the body was created for work, a work that each man and woman do differently. So it is all about the body. Taking the Bible out, it is the body, the anatomy. That's all.
So you know what's sad about what you just said? There's a few things. The body was made to work. That's a painful life.
It is.
That's a painful life
Did
too.
you think it was supposed to be something different? Did you think it was going to be like, roses and sunshine? Did you think that this world where you come in here, you're not supposed to work? Because everything moves. You have to be in progress. You will die if you don't. So everything moves. You must work.
Lady T, but you're looking at it from a perspective of what you know now, the knowledge that you know now.
Okay, it's
You
not
said-
about knowledge that I know.
But
It is
so
about-
why would you say
Think
that
about-
we're
I'm-
meant to work?
I need to get something to drink, y'all. Let me get this out.
Yeah.
The body is created to move. You get out of the womb, you are moving, you are learning to move the body. That is how the body works. It must move. Now, there are people that don't have the ability to do a lot of things, and that is just, we'll call it a disability. But the point is, when I say disability, because they don't have the ability, right? Let's say, certain limbs might not work or something like that, right? I'm going to call that a disability. But the purpose of the body is to come here to do a work. There is some type of work you must do. That's not sad. That's like normal.
No, it's normal, but I just want us to go a little deeper because you have people who have capable bodies that don't choose to work in that purpose that you're saying.
But that's different. That's choice.
But what do you call that? If we're in a materialistic evolutionary process, right?
Yeah.
What do you call that? If a person is capable, it said it's choice, right? So it's not innate in all of us to do those things.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So is it a bad thing they don't choose to move? And
I'm not going to judge it. I won't judge it. That's not for me to do.
But you said it's our purpose to do. So the opposite of that, would
It's
that be a negative?
Free will. It's our free will to do what we choose, right? We all have free will to make a choice.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. Where did free will come in at?
Because we have free will to make a choice. I just said it. We have free will to make a choice. The choice will be if you want to do a certain action or not. Some people don't do everything. We don't. Who am I to judge? I can't. So I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. Will it hurt that individual to not do certain things? Most likely. There will be certain things that other people should be doing for themselves that they know that they should be doing that will benefit them, but they don't want to.
That's still a judgment call, though.
Huh?
That's still a judgment call, though.
But that's a judgment for themselves.
No, it's a judgment from you because you said, is it right?
No, I said it's not right. If it's not right okay, let me say it like this. I'm not going to judge, but they will be the one to judge for themselves because it be a hindrance or a benefit to them, whatever it is that they do or do not do. That's what I'm saying. They will know. They will be the judge. They can see. It will be revealed to them if it's something beneficial or not. So that is their judgment to sit back and watch their own life.
So that's the question I'm asking before, because you mentioned they will be their own judge. So we are our own judges, right?
Okay. Yes, I say we are our own judge, but God is right there with you. So he really is the ultimate judge, right? We
Okay.
know that for sure. But you are the one deciding what you're going to do with your life through free will. So you make the choice. So God is sitting back watching you saying, I see you. Now, I don't think that's going to be right or wrong. We're going to see, but you know, you're going
So
to figure it out.
does God intervene?
Of course.
Okay, because I don't want to know if you had like a deist
Oh,
kind
no.
of
I think of
worldview.
Job. Okay. God
Okay.
intervenes. Yes.
Okay. No, I was just asking those questions.
No, Aaron, I hope you come back on because these are great questions. We need to get deeper into conversations about the
Yeah.
Bible. We did a 2.5, almost
Out.
2.5
Yeah,
hours.
we're gonna have to get up
Yeah.
out of here.
Look, I hope
Oh
you
man.
come back. We
Oh, I
look,
know.
if
We
you
that
got some
right.
topics you want to talk about. We talk about the Bible because I love talking about the Bible. You know, we can get deep into it. So
We definitely gonna have him back, but we gonna have to end this session because boy,
It is a two-part show.
Yeah, it is.
yes, it is. I love it. And listen, I trust me when I tell you, we definitely going to be connected, and we going to be doing this again, guys. We going to end this show, and listen, we will see you guys. We on tomorrow too at 6:30 sharp. So you know we be here tomorrow. Listen, guys, we talk to you later. Be blessed.
Deuces.